At the end of all of my photo editing courses and sections, I like to go through a complete edit to show you my process for using this application to professionally edit a photo. So I'm going to walk through editing this photo of Sam here to try to make it look a little bit better, at least in my opinion. So I'm going to do it all with manual adjustments, starting with our crop. So that's always what I do because I want to crop out any part of the image that I don't care about. So for this image, I want to make this a profile image for Sam. So I am going to use a square sort of look, and that looks pretty good. Something like that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. All right, so there I am done with that crop. It's a little bit cropping off the top of his head, which actually for this image, I don't mind at all. Then my next adjustment I always make is white balance. White balance actually looks good here, but I might just see what it looks like if I add sort of a warm tone, cool tone. I actually like it as is, so I'm happy with the white balance. Next, we make our tune adjustments. These are our adjustments for overall brightness, contrast, that kind of thing. So for overall brightness, it looks a little bit bright in terms of where his face is. Where his hair is, where his jacket is dark, which I don't mind. And I'm actually going to make it a little bit more contrasty. So brightness, I brought down a little bit. I'm going to go straight down to our highlights, bring down the highlights so we get a little bit more information back in his forehead area where it was a little bright. For his the shadows, if I want more detail, I would drag this to the right, but I want to actually create more contrast. I don't mind if we lose a lot of that information in his face on the left side of his face on that cheek. So actually dragging down like that, I actually like for this. So I think I'm happy there. I might go into my tone curve at the very end to make some minor adjustments to the overall contrast if I feel like it is necessary. One thing I will look at is my details. Sometimes with details, I actually drop the structure of a portrait to soften up Sam's skin. See how I drag this all the way to the left? It's too much, too soft, but we don't have as much detail in his skin, which I like. In contrast to that, I'm going to go down to sharpening and increase the sharpening just a little bit. I still want things to be in focus, sharp, but just lose a little bit of that detail. Happy with that. I'm going to jump down. Usually I don't do this, but for this photo, I'm going to jump down to the vignette and add a vignette around his face. Something like that looks pretty good. Right there. Cool. So we can also see before and after or see our steps. Let's view our edits. So we started with our crop, went to white balance, tune, details, vignette. Looking pretty good so far. I am going to use the healing brush. When I was playing around with the healing brush in the previous lesson, I realized that actually getting rid of this button right there looked good to me just because it was a little bit distracting. If I wanted to get rid of this whole zipper, actually that looks pretty cool too. I don't want anything sort of competing with his face. Undo, redo, undo, redo. I mean, without it, no one's going to question that. And I actually like that. Let's clean up a little bit. Whoops, I don't want to do that. Of his forehead right there. There we go. Okay, that's pretty good. I still think his forehead, it's very detailed, and maybe softening that up a little bit might help. I can do that with this selective option. So if I take my selective tool, click on his forehead, expand that, decrease it, so I'm just kind of selecting his forehead and some of that skin, and then go down to structure, then decrease structure. We can soften just his skin up just a little bit. We're not losing any of that detail in the image around it, just for that part of the image. Let's go up to brightness and drop it down just a little bit so it's not as overexposed. All right, that's looking pretty good. I'm happy with that. And then now it's just in terms of, do I want to add some sort of more style to it? I actually kind of like the glamour glows that we saw before, but maybe just very subtly this number 2. There we go, down to like 15. Just very subtle. Nice. All right, so let's see the before and after. Before, after, or just from crop. Before, after. Much more stylized, a little bit more dramatic. And I'm really actually liking this. This was one of those shots that Will got with the off-camera flash. I mean, this would actually look good as a black and white image, but that kind of defeats the purpose of all the edits that we've done so far. I'm pretty happy with this photo, so I'm going to go ahead and save it, send it to Sam, and see if he wants to use it for his next album cover. Export. And there we have it. That's a full sort of editing process using Snapseed. This is one powerful tool. It's an amazing thing that you can use on the go to make your photos look amazing. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in another lesson.